sales is a beautiful opportunity in an industry that any absolute idiot could go into with a work ethic and willingness and a want to get out of their situation for something better, a better future, right? And, my thing was, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to make money. So I started making six figures. I lived in a $750 shithole townhouse and drove a paid off $3,000 Mitsubishi Lancer with no air conditioning. I knew in order to separate myself that I, again, had to do something that other people weren't willing to do. And it sucks pulling up to a stoplight, seeing a Mercedes or a BMW, and you're in a Lancer and you look over and you know that you're probably making way more money than that person. It's just theirs is financed, right? And they're probably going home to a nicer apartment or a nicer townhouse or a nicer home. But like going through the thoughts of like, am I crazy? Like, am I doing the right thing? Like, I'm not taking vacations. I was just stacking cash. Yeah. Because I figured like opportunities like one of two things, an individual that's highly skilled or it finds money. Yeah. That's it.
Welcome to the Arrows Out podcast. I'm your host, River Skinner. I'm with the co-host, Jason Hershey, and I got a very special guest.
So special.
The specialist.
The runner, the serial entrepreneur. And I recently found out he's on OnlyFans, so there's a few different things you can find him on Instagram.
Business is hard. Business is hard. So you got to supplement your income, have some side hustles. So
Mr. Trevor, and it's pronounced Cowley?
Cowley, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Welcome to the podcast, man.
It's good to be here. Good to chat with you.
Trevor is a serial entrepreneur. He started 60-Day Credit Repair. He owns Easier Accounting. He also is recently started the Real Business Owners Mastermind. Yeah. But he's been running a podcast called The Real Business Owners for how long have you been running that?
5 years.
5 years. And
yeah.
That's actually, we connected through Instagram, and then he invited me on the podcast. And so I was like, dude, we got to have Trevor on. Yeah. So he's able to come on. But I love the name Real Business Owners. Yeah. Like, I think it's kind of like a little dig at some people. And like, I just think it's a very interesting name.
That was part of the thought process behind it.
Yeah. So what does Real Business Owners mean to you? Like, what you've dedicated this whole brand that you're like fully backing right now. Like, what's the purpose of Real Business Owners? What does it mean to you? And where, like, as far as the name, and then also like what do you guys do with Real Business Owners?
Yeah. Look, man, being a business owner is like the worst job in the entire world. And with Instagram and Facebook, they've made it pretty darn sexy, right? Or they try to make it sexy. Yeah. The look at me lifestyle. Like, I despise the people that take a picture on the beach with a laptop and like act like that's business or that's entrepreneurship, right? Yeah. Or taking the picture next to the Lamborghini. Like, if people are doing that, they're probably not neck deep in entrepreneurship right now, right? And so like from what I saw on social media and what I was experiencing seemed like two totally different things. Yeah. I'm like, that just doesn't feel like business in terms of what I'm dealing with on a day-to-day basis, right? Yeah. The pain and the struggle and the hurt and growing these businesses is nothing fun, cool, or sexy. It's very, very difficult. Yeah. Right. And so that was kind of the thing behind the name is like I was looking at it. I'm like, okay, well, we own multiple businesses. Like, we're real business owners. We're neck deep in the process of growing and scaling and operating businesses on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like that the information that was out there and available in the marketplace at that time was just information to try to pull dollars out of people's pockets, right? Like selling you something, a course or this, that, the other. And so we're like, okay, well, we own an accounting firm and we want to have people know more about who we are so that they can know us, like us, and trust us. Yeah. Right. And accounting is not fun, cool, or sexy either. Right. It's a pretty boring industry. And so I was like, what can I do to make it kind of fun, cool, or sexy and, attract the type of people that would benefit from this information, right? And so I'm sitting there jotting information like owners and operators. I was like, because that's what we are. I'm trying to think of who we are, who we embody, because I believe if we embody that, we'll attract, like attracts like, right? And so I was like, okay, owners and operators, we own businesses and we operate these businesses. Real business owner, like, and I was jotting these ideas down. And then when I pitched my partner on it, I was just like, hey, this is an idea that I have. I'd like to call it one of these names. And they said, Real Business Owners is available. And I said, yeah, I already verified and checked all of these. And then we started, an Instagram called Real Business Owners. People started to hit us up and say, do you guys have a YouTube channel? Do you guys have a podcast? This was all within 2 or 3 months of putting out content and information. And we're like, no. And so we just said, okay, well, it's probably time that we start a podcast because it's going to help us make the content versus just like sitting in front of a camera, staring at a camera, not knowing, what to say, right? Like staring directly at a camera is much harder than just like sitting on a microphone and having a conversation, right? And so it like got to the point where we're just sitting in a chair with a light on, and it was like, they're like, go. It's like, dude, I'm not that cool to be able to say something just like that, like right off of the top of my head every single time that the camera turns on.
Right.
But it was easy for us to have just conversations with other business owners or between me and my business partner that was just filled with good business content. And then over time, it just grew to the point where, we ended up with a couple million downloads.
Because you've been doing that for 5 years.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you've learned about growing a brand on social media? Like you've done a really good job.
You have to spend money, lots of money. That's
real
what
money.
people, real money. That's what people don't understand. People are like, oh, how'd you grow your podcast? How did you grow that Instagram account? Spend money.
Yeah.
Like anything that you want to grow, you better be spending some time, some money, your energy. Like real effort has to be put behind anything that's going to be greater than average, right?
Yeah.
So if you want the result of 1%, you got to be doing what the 99% won't do. What will 99% won't do? Spend money on Instagram. Why?
Yeah.
Because there's no guarantee.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're okay spending 10 grand if you could measure it and know that 10 grand is going to bring you 15 grand back. But are you okay spending, $50,000, $100,000 or $150,000 in a belief that this can pay off? It might pay off. You hope it'll pay off. And
There's
just going into it, there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah.
That's a big bet.
Yeah.
So
and that's what you were saying when I went to your podcast studio.
Yeah.
Right? Dude, we got this 9 months ago.
Yeah.
I did a year lease, and I don't know if we're going to be here at month 13, but I threw in, I don't know how much you spent on your studio, but like $30,000-$40,000 or something, real money behind it.
Yeah.
To be like, we're going to build this thing out, and I hope in a year I don't have to move. We're not going to need to move out, but I'm going to put in $40,000. And
I spent it was like $30,000 to $40,000 just to figure out what doesn't work. Right. So like when I was like first starting out, boosting posts and this, like trying to figure out and getting data, I was letting the data tell me what didn't work. Right.
Yeah.
And then eventually I got data of what did work. And I was like, holy cow, this video is getting us, followers at 25 cents a piece.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so every dollar that I spend, I'm going to get 4 followers. So you tell me if I spend 10 grand, I'm going to get 40,000 followers. So I would put $5, $10, $20 on a couple different posts. I would pull back the data, look at it. And again, I was just beating my head against the wall over and over and over, and it really wasn't working. And then I found kind of some of the right keywords of the people that I wanted to target all through the data that I was getting, right? Why I was losing money, to then eventually figure out that was the cost of education, to figure out how to grow an Instagram profile. Right. And then within like a year, we went from 0 to 80,000 followers, because once I figured out, how to do it, I, lit a match and put gasoline on it.
Do you know why you're kind of frustrating me?
Why?
Because I thought it was the sandwich. I thought it was the sandwich reviews. I thought that's what was getting all of you guys' followers.
No,
it wasn't.
No.
Okay, because I was like, maybe $8. I'm just gonna go, go get Ty, my videographer.
No.
And just go do some sandwich reviews.
No.
And
no,
I'm gonna grow my
I don't
thing
think
big.
that's a hit yet.
Dude,
I think they're funny, and I
so
like
funny.
doing it. I don't give a shit if other people don't like it, because like that's really just where I'm at in life. I've built and grown businesses and made a bunch of money, ended up in a dark place, depressed, and I was like, okay, well, money's not going to give me the feeling that I hoped for. So how else do I get it? And it's really just, honoring yourself in a way where you tap in. Okay, do I like doing this? Cool. If you like doing it, then do it. So I really don't give a shit if people like my sandwich reviews or not.
I love them. I think they're so funny.
It was just a way to incorporate the videographer and like have fun with him. He said one day when I took him to go get a sandwich, I'm like, oh, let's go grab a Blimpie, And he's like, oh, is this like Subway? I was like, don't ever say that again. Blimpie's way better than Subway, bro. And he's like, I told my mom that I could eat sandwiches for every meal. Like, I just love sandwiches. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, why don't we do this every Friday? Why don't we see if we can find the best sandwich in St. George? And so it was just a way for me and him to really connect.
Yeah.
And so it was just an idea on the, spur of the moment. And, I've had fun with it, and I know he has too. So.
I think it's hilarious. I love watching it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's pretty critical on sandwiches too. I think it's funny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He doesn't like the hot dog style. Like, you have to cut the bread all the way through. You don't just open it, And I'm like, I've never even thought of it like that. It's just like bread and meat and cheese. And, it tastes the same.
So you talk about honoring yourself. I want to talk about this dark place you went to. But I when you say honoring yourself, I feel like most people, like now it's like, hey, I need a mental health day. I'm going to take a day off. I'm going to go sit and watch TV.
Yeah.
I know you don't do, like, I know, like, the way you honor yourself is you're spending 1,000 days right now, right? Yeah. And it ends on, what, September 27th.
It's 1,000 two-a-days.
1,000 two-a-days.
In a row.
Every morning you're running 10 miles. Every morning you're running 10 miles. And then what's interesting is you don't just go straight to the gym, because that you have to break the momentum, right? You have to stop the run, shower, shave, and then later in the day
eat. I'm there about an hour and a half later.
Then
there's
you go.
A split. Yeah.
So it's like not convenient at all. And is that the way that you've found, like, when you say honoring yourself, is that like a way that you feel like you're honoring taking care of yourself?
That's a big way that I honor myself. And I asked myself, okay, if somebody handed me $100 million today, right now, and I never had to do anything, right, what would I do? And so I was just like, okay, what would I do? What do I enjoy? What makes me feel good in my body? I'm like, I like exercising. Like, I always looked up to athletes. Mm-hmm. Like, I always, as a kid, thought I would maybe end up becoming an athlete, like looking at them, their physique, their that's something that I admired. Yeah. Right. And anytime that I've got a good workout in, I feel great in my body and mind. I'm proud of myself. Mm-hmm. That was an accomplishment. Right. And obviously that has to do with, chemicals being released in your brain, endorphins and dopamine and all this stuff. That's just naturally what happens when you go exercise and move your body. Right. And so no wonder why I feel good doing it. So I said, if I had all the money in the world, I'd probably get up every morning and go for like a long run. Mm-hmm. Like, I just like pushing myself. That's something that I enjoy doing. But I don't want to just become some skinny tweaker looking runner. I get it. I don't want somebody to look at me and be like, dude, is this guy a tweaker or does he run long distances? I still wanted to look like an athlete. Right. Yeah. And I still enjoy lifting weights and moving weight. Right. And so it was like running brings me a lot of calm and peace. Lifting brings me a lot of confidence, mm-hmm. right? So they serve two different purposes.
Running's almost spiritual for you.
Yeah. So I don't listen to music or podcast or anything. It's just a meeting with my mind and, connecting with my breathing and just hearing my feet pound the pavement. That's I think it's a very beautiful thing, and it is a pain in the ass too. So I mean, I like it how I feel after. Yeah. So I don't care what I have to go through in order to get what I'm trying to get. Yeah. And if I'm trying to get that feeling, if I have to go through more misery than most people, I will suffer more than most people for something that I want. That's part of my identity. Yeah. Right. And so if I have to go 10 miles to feel this way about myself, then so be it. That feeling's so great that I don't care that I have to suffer for 2 hours to earn that.
Is that like natural for you, or is that like something you developed?
Definitely not natural. So, definitely not natural.
Where'd you learn that? How'd you learn it? Was it through like athletics as a kid?
Well, I learned it through the fact that, again, I went through a dark period. Yeah. Right? When I made, guess what, dude? I got to the point where I made $100,000 a year. Then the goal's 200, right? Then it's 300. Then it's $500,000. Then it's $1 million. And then one point, like, it starts getting to the point where, like, okay, what do? Do I go to 3? Then 4, like, where does it end? Because you just always push the goalpost back, right? And there really is no ending. But what I found out was, okay, money's not going to bring me this thing. Net worth and self-worth are two different things. There's plenty of rich people that want to off themselves, that are absolutely miserable, that have zero self-worth.
Yeah.
Right? They throw themselves in their work as a distraction because they hate who they are. Right? And so I didn't want to be that. And I felt like, okay, like I'm starting to get to a point where it's undeniable, where I'm making enough money where if it was going to bring me a certain feeling, it would have done it by now. Right? And it wasn't doing that. And so when I was in a dark place, I was like, okay, now what? What?
So the dark place came after you were financially doing well.
I was making money, and that's when I hit the lowest, because at least when I was chasing money, there was hope that it would bring a feeling. But what happens when you get to the point where you have the money and even the hope's gone? Then you're left with who? Yourself. And if you don't have self-worth, that's not going to be a pretty thing, right? You're going to go through some tough times and have to kind of reevaluate the way that you live your life.
Yeah.
It just is what it is. And that's what I had to do. And so I was like, okay, like, I felt good doing 75 hard. It was December. I was like, okay, January 1st is coming up. I'll do a New Year's resolution like everybody else, and try to pull myself out of this situation. So as I was doing 75 hard, and I was like, okay, this time I'm not going to post about it and try to be part of the cool kids club, whatever. Like, I'm doing this actually for me this time, not just to like have it as a status or whatever on social media and to tell everybody in conversation that I did it. Right? Which, it's cool if you do it for that reason and you still do it. That's awesome. You're still better off. But I just don't think that you're doing it for the right reasons. So the second time I did it, I was like, I'm not going to post about it. I'm not going to talk about it. I'm just going to go do it for me, because it made me feel good when I was doing that.
Yeah.
When I was moving my body twice a day and I was reading, I was feeding my mind, I was honoring the body. Like, look at the human design. We're built to move. Why does the brain have neuroplasticity? Why? So that we can always continue to learn. So if we're not putting new information into the brain and into the mind and not continuing to use the machine the way that it's supposed to be used, it's probably not going to function in the way that it should function.
Yeah.
Right? And so it was like, okay, I felt best when I was doing this. So I'm going to go back to that, right?
Yeah.
And I went back to that. And during that period, I said, okay, so if I found the thing that makes me feel best in my body and mind, like, why would I stop doing that thing?
Yeah.
Like, dude, that should be like insanity right there. Somebody's like, oh man, I felt the best I ever felt, but I'm going to stop on day 76 and throw everything away,
Yep.
and then I'm going to get back into a dark place and then do it again 6 months later as a way to get out of a depression or a dark situation. Right. And so I was like, dude, I'm going to do it for 100 days. And then after 100 days, I'm like, okay, well, this is how I want to live. This is just who I want to be. Because I even though it's hard and it's difficult, like, I feel different about myself. And so the exchange was worth it, right? And then I said, what? I'm going to do 2-a-days every single day, and I'm going to read. I'm like, I'm not going to stick to exact diet. I still like my wife's enchiladas or chimichanga or whatever, right? So, and I was burning enough calories where I could afford to, eat whatever I wanted at that point. So I was like, I'm going to do 2-a-days every day and do it for the whole year. Right. And then it got to the point where it was like 4 or 5 months in, I was like, okay, this isn't hard for me anymore. This is just who I am. I'm lifting weights. And then I was going for a walk, and I was like, okay, well, isn't the whole point of this is to evolve? You're not going to evolve if it's not difficult, right? And so I was like, dude, I called myself out. I was like, I need to start running. I like, that's hard. There's no easy mile, right? And so I was like, I need to start running and lifting.
Yeah.
And so then it evolved to that. But then after 365 days, I was like, man, what if I could do this for 1,000 days straight?
Yeah. And
then I was like, dude, I'm just going to set a goal way bigger, dude. I'm going to do this thing for 1,000 days. And so it's like 800 and something days into it at this point. And again, it's just part of my identity and part of who I am. And I've worked my way up to, starting my day with a 10-mile run and then lifting. And so, like, if you would have told the version of me 2, 3, 4 years ago, hey, dude, you'll be running 10, like, I would have told you that you're up in the night, and so I just don't think people really can understand or conceive what they're capable of, because they're really not operating at the threshold of what they're currently capable of. So therefore, they're never going to create a new capable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you're operating at the threshold, then it becomes your new normal, and then your new capable increases, right? And then then you operate at that capable, and then so that's why I just don't really believe that people understand what they could really accomplish. Because even when I was running 5 miles a day, I was like, dude, there's no way I'm going to ever be able to run 10. That's impossible.
Yeah.
With the way that my body felt, there's no possible way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just honored the 5.5, then 6, and then 6.5. Chipping away at it.
So where's like your mind at now? Because you're 800 and something days in.
Yeah.
10 miles is like, now this is who you are.
Yeah.
Now what? Like is your mind kind of turning there yet? Like, okay, once these 1,000 days are up, like.
I mean, I'm still going to be who I am now. I mean, you're not the same person, 800 days into something like this, right? Yeah. Like, again, it's just part of my identity.
Yeah.
Do I see myself not getting up and getting after it, twice a day? I just don't see that.
Yeah.
Right? Like look, I've wanted to run a 100-miler, but the problem is like 24 hours, and I can't get, like, that's just one workout, right? Is what I consider one workout. Yeah. And so, like, after this, I've thought about on day, 1,001, maybe to do a 100-mile run, but it still irks me to think that, like, I'm not breaking a workout up and doing 2. It's weird. I don't know. I mean, it might not make sense to a lot of people, but
it's like the rules you set in your mind is you need to get to.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's the right way to think. I'm just saying that's a hard hump for me to get over, because it's like, okay, well, 1,000 days ends September 27th. That's almost at the end of the year. Why wouldn't I just do 3 years straight? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I heard Michael Phelps say, dude, I was in the pool every single day for 5 years straight.
Yeah.
And I decided at one point, I was like, I'm going to train like an Olympic athlete without ever having anything to actually enter into. At least what keeps them going is the fact that they have an Olympic game 4 years from now. But can I tap into the mindset of an Olympic athlete and be the top 1% in terms of my training without having a reason to train outside of the fact that I just want to become great?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so, there's this mark of 5 years on this video that I saw, right? And so it's like, maybe I can do it for that long. Like, I don't know. It's too early to answer the question. I just know that I'm committed to continuing to push myself in ways that the old version of me would either just be flabbergasted that that's even happening, and trying to continue to surprise myself.
I love that. Yeah,
so,
that's awesome.
Yeah,
I love it.
You're quiet today. What's the deal, dude?
I'm mesmerized.
Are you?
You're just.
Are you?
You're making me nervous.
You're just too much.
You're sitting behind me and too quiet. Then, luckily for you, I have enough words for.
I'm inspired.
4 people. So
yeah.
So you are.
Very.
What are you gonna do about it?
Get my fat ass moving.
Yeah, there you go. You can come run 10 with me tomorrow morning if you'd like.
I'll run the first one with you. We'll go from there.
Yeah.
And then I'll do 1.5 and then 2.
Hey, that's it. That's how it works, bro.
We'll work our way up.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I love it. Oh, sorry, dude. Rookie hour at the Pancake House.
Oh, yeah.
So, when I was on your podcast, you mentioned this, because I think it is true. It's like, you've made a lot of money. You probably have leveraged your like all of your resources so that your businesses are working without you in them. Like, you delegated it, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe you could tell me, maybe you had the time, 20 years ago when you were starting your entrepreneurial journey to go and do the 2-a-days and to do this. And it's like, but when you first started, you probably didn't have as much time.
Yeah.
But that same sort of mindset, I would imagine, went into business as well. What are some of the things that you've seen that applying that same mindset that you've had with the running, the 2-a-days, into starting your entrepreneurial journey, and how that's helped you as well, starting your businesses and stuff like that?
Yeah. Look, man, I grew up really poor, and I made a promise to the young poor boy that I was that I wouldn't live like this, that this is not okay. Mm-hmm. And I believe that people are, complaining is so easy, right? Like, if your life is so bad to where you're going to complain about it, what are your actions to actually do something about it, right? Like, I would rather go through, again, the pain of working 60 or 70 hours a week building something than the pain of being poor, because I experienced that pain firsthand, right? And so it's like, if I'm going to work 40 hours a week and be poor, to go home to what? Poverty? And then to go home and just sulk and sit, like, why aren't we utilizing the time that's allotted to us to try to make progress?
Yeah.
Right. And so, like, that was my mentality, is like, okay, I mean, I guess I can go just do something for 40 hours a week and just barely get by, and can't wait to get home at 5 o'clock just to sit there in my shitty house and drive my shitty car home and, like, just live a really shitty life.
Yeah.
Like,
just feeling stuck.
Yeah. Just feeling stuck. And it's just like, I would rather go all into something and commit to something. Look, you can build something special with a lot of sweat equity, dude.
Yeah.
Just putting time into it. A lot of people think that they need to have like $1 million, start a business, or they already have to be rich. Guess what? Like, sales is a beautiful opportunity in an industry that any absolute idiot could go into with a work ethic and willingness and a want to get out of their situation for something better, a better future, right? And, you know, my thing was, okay, I'm going to go in and I'm going to make money. So I started making 6 figures. I lived in a $750 shithole townhouse and drove a paid off $3,000 Mitsubishi Lancer with no air conditioning, right? That like, I knew in order to separate myself that I, again, had to do something that other people weren't willing to do. And it sucks pulling up to a stoplight, seeing a Mercedes or a BMW, and you're in a Lancer, and you look over and you know that you're probably making way more money than that person. That's just, theirs is financed, right? And they're probably going home to a nicer apartment or a nicer townhouse or a nicer home. But, like, going through the thoughts of, like, am I crazy? Like, am I doing the right thing? Like, I'm not taking vacations. I was just stacking cash. Yeah. Because I figured, like, opportunities, like, one of two things: an individual that's highly skilled, or it finds money. Yeah. That's it. But poor people are like, oh, why can't I catch a break? Well, you're not skilled with anything, except for complaining, probably. So you have no skills and you have no money. So why would an opportunity even want to find you? So I believed that, okay, I'm an idiot, so I need money. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm going to go into sales, and I'm going to make money, and I'm going to keep my lifestyle super, super low, and I'm going to stack cash and hope that I'm right, that opportunity will find money. And then it was like 3 years later, opportunity found my money, right?
What was that opportunity?
It was partnering with the partners that I have now, right? It kind of hit a little bit of a low point, the skids or whatever. And I was working there, and I was doing good. And I don't think enough people treat the business like it's theirs, right? Like, if you go into, you know, working for somebody, my mindset was like, if I got hit by a bus, I want them to feel it. Or if I decided to leave, I wanted to feel. I want to add so much value and be undeniable in the amount of value that I bring, that the thought of me not being there is actually scary to them. Yeah. Right. And so it was like value. I started hiring. I started doing the sales training. And again, nobody said, hey, you're the leader, you're this, you're that. Again, the right people that really want the opportunity, that are true leaders, don't need to be told that they're leaders. Like, in the middle of a game time and it's a situation, like, there's going to be somebody that's going to emerge, that's going to communicate and rally the team and say that fire speech without somebody saying, hey, if we get in this situation, you're going to be the guy to rally the troops and say this and this. And, like, it just happens in those type of environments, right? And so it's like, I asserted myself in as many things as I possibly could to try to add value anywhere that I possibly could. And then it got to the point where one of their partners wasn't managing money right, and it kind of, you know, was going through a tough time, and they were booting him out, and was like, hey, you know, we're low on funds, whatever. If you want to come in with your own money, we value you more as a partner than as an employee. But guess what? If I wasn't saving money for those 3 years, and they say, hey, you want to come in with some money, we value you, then what? If I brought you an opportunity right now and said, hey, bro, this is going to change your life, give me 50 grand right now. Yeah. If you don't have it, then what? Right? Like, a lot of people want to, like, prepare for the opportunity as it's on their doorstep, and then it ends up being too late, rather than doing everything. It's so easy to do all the right things if you know that this thing is going to be, like, again, it's the not knowing. I think I'm doing the right thing by saving money. Hopefully one day an opportunity comes my way and I take advantage of it and it works, right?
We have to put ourselves in a position to seize the opportunity.
Correct, right? And so like, again, and then when that happened, it was like, okay, this is it.
Yep.
Now it's game time.
Yeah.
All that work, everything that I did, it's working as I thought it would.
Yeah.
Right? And so then at that point it was like, okay, I'm going to see if I can take 10% off of the bottom of the overhead. I'm going to see if I can add 10% to the top. That's a 20% shift, blah, blah, blah. Started doing some things, and, the business had a good year the very following year when I came in. And ever since then, it was just like, dude, let's just do more and more and more and more and more things. And I've kept that same mentality of living off of little and making as much as money as I possibly can. Like, I pay for my homes and cars and this, that, the other. I still make money, but like, I still only live off of maybe 10% of my income. You know what I mean? So it's like.
So I want to kind of dive into, because I think that's actually really interesting. So the person that you're partners with today, what's his name again?
Cal.
Cal.
And I mean, I got other partners: Jeremy Woodard, JD Levitt, Coulter with the credit repair. We have Easier Payments, a payment processing company as well. I mean, there's
many partners, but Cal's like your main partner that you've been working with.
With anything that I have my name on in terms of like ownership, like the Everbowl franchise here in town, like me and him have done that together. Real business owners, me and him did that together. Like
Got it.
All of those things, yes.
Reminds me a lot of Jason and I.
Yeah.
And so you've been with him for, you said, how old were you then?
When I first started working for him?
For Cal, yeah.
I was like 25, something like that.
So that's what, 10, 15 years?
15.
15 years?
Yeah.
So talk to me about like your thoughts and like the way you think about loyalty. Because there was probably opportunities within that 15 years where you could have short-sighted him. Like guaranteed. Like you could have chosen to be like, hey, no.
Yeah.
But 15 years, like I look at people with a long marriage, I mean, a thriving long marriage, and I'm like, there's something like
you're doing
loyalty.
Something right.
Loyalty is really, really cool.
Yeah.
And I know there's opportunities in there for you to choose to not be loyal, to serve you better.
Yeah.
So talk to me, like, what are your thoughts on loyalty and the benefits of being loyal, and why be loyal to Cal when you could have done X, Y, or Z different?
Yeah. Loyalty is super, super important, and I play a longer game, I think, than most people.
Yeah.
Right? Like the 1,000 days, most people aren't going to think about 1,000 days. They might do 75 hard, but they can see an ending.
Yeah.
Right? I like to play a longer, and I believe that if you're playing the right game, you're playing a long game. And if you're playing the long game, there's no reason to be short-sighted and be disloyal and try to take.
Yeah.
I just don't believe in that. Right? And so it's served me well. It served him well. It served our other partners well. Like all of us have done very, very well. I think that there is strength in numbers when you surround yourself with like-minded type people, right? Yeah. It is dark, it is lonely, it is hard, but if you have partners that are like-minded, your probability of success is going to go up, especially with individuals that are, again, of a growth mindset, so to speak, right? And so. I've seen a lot of partnerships not work out. Yeah. But I've said before, like I didn't enter a partnership for it not to. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's just not my mentality. Yeah. So we'll figure it out.
I love that, because that's kind of the premise of the whole podcast. Arrows Out, focusing on other people and serving, and that's where I think loyalty comes in. When you're loyal, you're focused on how can I, like Jason and I have been working together for 10 years. It's like
Facebook friends.
And Facebook friends.
That's huge.
I'm like, what can I do?
I'm surprised you haven't blocked his ass yet.
A couple times.
He make a post.
We've had our moments as
over 10 years you will.
Dude,
as any marriage has.
Yeah.
He had this good business idea. I think starting business partnership therapy. You know what I mean? Good idea.
You want to start it with us?
That's right. Lock him in a room like this and
we'll put you in there with him.
Yeah.
Meet your therapist.
Meet your therapist.
Yeah. How many miles a day are you running? That's your problem.
That's your biggest issue. Get in the ice bath now.
You can't be angry when you're exhausted. So.
Anyway, but yeah, I just think loyalty is something I admire about you talking about your you've been in business with Cal for 15 years. Yeah. Something I admire about, Jason and I's relationship is just that loyalty and knowing I have your back, you have mine. Yeah. It makes the journey when, shit does hit the fan, things aren't going as, kind of according to plan. It's like, hey, at least this dude's ride or die. I'm
Yeah.
ride or die.
Yeah.
Let's roll. You know, like
Yeah.
we'll figure it out. But there's strength in numbers.
I
and
believe that. Yeah.
I think it's huge, and I think a lot of people put so much value on the money, and they don't put nearly as much value on the relationships, because the
Yeah.
relationships are, the money will come and go.
Yeah.
The relationships are the real value, and I've learned that over the past
Wow.
10 years.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing a short game, then you'll put money over everything, right? If something like you see something that you can have now, and you'll take, again, you just don't, you don't have long-term vision. You're not a long-term thinker,
Yeah.
right? And what that means is you're average as fuck,
Yeah.
right? Like you're just the same as everybody else.
Yep.
Because everybody else is looking at a way to try to get rich quick. Why do you think get rich quick schemes
So popular.
make so much money, right? Because everybody like wants to avoid the actual process and avoid the work, and it is a long-term thing. It's like not, again, it's the uncool, unsexy things that create wealth.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody commented, I had a picture on Facebook, whatever, yesterday with my shirt off, whatever, showing abs, all that. Somebody's like, dude, just tell me what you're doing and how you do, like, and I'm like, I just wanted to comment and be like, bro, you don't want this. Like, you don't want it. I cool, the picture might look cool, but I don't, that's 800 and something days, dude, and I know what I went through in order to acquire that. Right? Or to have that. And I'm just like, I could look at 9 out of 10 people and just flat out say, you don't want this. Like, I know the price that you have to pay to receive this, and it's a heavy, heavy price. Like, and it's the same in business. You know, again, it's the same in fitness. It's the same in a marriage or you've been married for 17 years. Like, dude, it's tough. You know, I've been married for 14 years, 15 years, something like that. I don't know. Somewhere around that mark. My daughter, 14, 15 years. And like, if you're not willing to go through hell, then you don't deserve to have it.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not willing to go through hell in business, you don't deserve to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
If you're not willing to go through hell, then you don't deserve a six-pack.
Yep.
Like, it's just, there's always an exchange.
Yep.
The question is are you willing to exchange what's necessary for what it is that you say that you want? And unfortunately, 99.999% of the time, the answer is no.
Yep.
Right?
So I do think, like, I know New Year's resolutions, people get pumped up, right? They say they want it. I saw Trevor's picture.
Yeah.
I want the abs too. I'm all in. Cool. And then they hit resistance. And that's really where the choice is made. It's easy to make the choice when I'm sitting on my couch.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something really difficult. The real choice is made is once you say you made the choice, and then you have your first roadblock, and then you choose, do I quit or do I push forward? And I'm sure you've had many of those along your last 800 and something days.
Oh, yeah.
What's your mentality when you hit a roadblock in business, in whatever, when you have that resistance point? It's like, hey, I want to make the 1.6 million. I want to get to 1,000 days. But damn, I didn't know it was going to be this hard. How do you process it in a positive way to keep you propelled?
By expecting it to be very difficult. And then when those difficult moments happen, to tell yourself that that's exactly when the progress that you said that you wanted is being made. There's no progress being made on an easy day.
Yeah.
Like, that's just logical thinking, right? The question is can you think logical when you're at a low spot? Mm-hmm. And again, the answer is no, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
They succumb to an emotion, right? Like, damn, I just don't want to do that. So what do? They don't do that.
Yeah.
Like, when I make an agreement with myself, I honor the agreement.
Yeah.
Like, I don't give a shit. Like, I was a heroin addict for 4 years with a needle in my arm. When I quit and I had to go up to a mountain and go through withdrawals in a camp trailer, so there was no getting out of it. I created the environment and knew that I was going to hurt so bad that I was going to probably want to make a phone call and probably want to go find my dealer and probably want to go use 3, 4, 5 days into it. So I created a predetermined destination to say there's no out, right? I'm going to go up there and I'm going to face all my bad decisions head on. In the middle of that, I was going through so much pain. I made a promise to myself, I will never do anything that puts me through this much pain again.
Yeah.
I didn't, and again, there's no hate on it. I didn't have to do a 12-step or none of that. That pain right there, I made the promise in that pain that I would never do that ever again. And I've honored that. So to me, there's been times where I'm out late at night looking at stars I'm like, what am I doing this for? What am I doing it for? Like, I don't need to be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then I tell myself, well, you started doing it for a reason. Just because it doesn't make sense to you right now, in the moment, doesn't mean that you quit. Doesn't mean that you stop.
Right.
There was an emotion, there was an individual that you were trying to run away from at one point that put you on this path. And what you're saying is you're willing to sacrifice yourself because you just don't feel like it and go back to the version of you that you were at one point trying to run away from or change. And like, for me, I think that I am very logical and like, oh, I don't want to do this. Okay, well, this is when most people won't do it, and this is when real progress is made. And so, you know, the last 100 days was just to get to the point where progress is now happening, right? Or whatever. Like, I just try to figure it out. I manipulate myself, and I manipulate my mind.
What led you to? I can't imagine in 4 years of heroin use that was the first time you tried to quit.
No,
So I mean, like, what was different that time?
I was a little bit older, you know, and I was using around other people that were like 35, 40, 45, and I got to the point where I was kind of like looking around. I'm like, hey, I don't want to be these people like this. I'm like looking at my future right now. And then, you know, I went home one night and just kind of thinking about it, whatever. Within like a week or two, I got caught from my parents using, and they said, you can't be here no more.
So how many years ago was this?
This is when I was like a week before I turned 24. So it was like, I turned 40 in 3 months.
2008?
Yeah, I don't count like the.
Yeah.
I didn't do the programs to where I'm like, I don't celebrate being clean.
Yeah.
Because I should have been clean the whole damn time.
Yeah. No, I just am curious because I've been off. I never did heroin, but I did a lot of OxyContin.
Yeah, that's where it started.
So, and then when I got to rehab, everyone just made fun of me. They're like, "Oh, you just never bought the cheaper stuff."
Yeah.
Like, you're doing the same shit.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but I'm not a heroin addict. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm a prescription addict.
Yeah, that's what.
So,
I thought too.
but it was just like weird. I didn't get clean because of I went out and used after rehab.
Yeah.
But then like one night I just had this epiphany. I was like, I'm kind of saying what you just said. Like, I'm not, this is not who I'm going to be. And I just woke up the next day and I've never done it since.
Yeah.
It was really bizarre.
Well, I was walking down the street after I got kicked out and was watching cars drive by with like little kids and shit in the back seat of people that were like my same age, 24, 25, starting to have families. You know, and I'm walking down the street and I'm like, where am I going to sleep tonight? Like, where am I? I don't have a cell phone. I don't have $1 to my name. Like, where am I even walking to? Right? And so it's just like, dude, these people have the life that I want. They're like, they're graduated in college and now they're starting families. And I was like, jealous of it. It was just like, what the am I doing with my life, dude? Like, what's going on? And I got like a mile down the road and my mom pulled up. I was like, hey, this is your last, like, don't get in this car unless you're ready to change. I needed that mile. You know what I mean? To kind of see. And yeah, it was within a week or two of me looking around. Like, it all kind of happened of like, dude, I don't want this to be my future. These older people that are using, and then that walk, and then seeing, okay, well, these young people my same age are starting to create a life for themselves and have families. And, like, I don't have that. And so at that point, I was willing to do whatever it took, and the solution was, hey, we're going to go up on the mountain and we're going to handle it. So
sweet.
Yeah, that's how.
Well, congrats.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
you've done well.
Yeah, I've done okay. I'm still a crackhead at heart. Just I've turned that addiction crackhead
to healthier
mindset
things,
to running and lifting and business and different things. So.
Yeah, there's one thing that I describe, like the word that describes you is like just being disciplined.
Yeah.
Just super disciplined.
Yeah.
And I also think like one thing I recognize is you talk a lot about when it gets hard, that's where you separate yourself. Like you view resistance as like, that's the difference between me and everybody else who has this average life.
Yeah.
Like that's that good stuff right there.
Yeah.
Right where I just hate it. That's where like
physical
that's
pain.
Where
that's proof.
It's perfect for me.
It's proof.
Yeah.
When you're going through physical pain, that is your living proof right there that you're doing something that most people wouldn't be willing to do.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't like I told somebody, I was like, dude, if I wasn't married with kids, dude, I'd literally go buy a freaking trailer and slap it on a piece of property, because even know that I can have these other things. It's like, I just, one, I don't need those things in order to have self-worth anymore. But for me, it's about giving myself undeniable proof that I'm separating myself from the average human being. Yeah. I want to be able to endure things that they're not able to endure. You look at like a David Goggins, dude, he's just a guy.
Yeah.
You know, like why can he do it and not me? Okay, so he's a human. He's a dude. I'm a dude. I'm a human. He's disciplined. I can be disciplined. Like, I just don't.
People make it way harder than it needs to be.
Way harder, because they can't go do 10 miles a day. They don't even do one.
Yeah.
You know, and somebody told me one time, oh, I used to run 5 miles a day. And I'm like, oh, well, what'd you an injury or whatever. And I said, you know what your problem is? Because you have that as a threshold in your mind, and just because you can't go out and run the 5 miles a day right now, you don't even go out to run 1 or 2. Because you just don't think it's good. Because your definition of good is 5 miles a day, and just because you can't do that, you're not willing to swallow your pride and start back at ground zero and do the 1 or 2 miles a day, and then go to 2 or 3, and then 3 or 4. Whatever. It takes a lot of, it's easier for you to say I used to run 5 miles a day than actually do what it takes to start on that path to doing it again. I felt so good. I was doing 5 miles. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Cool story, bro.
So a lot of people that listen to this are, I think, entrepreneurs, salespeople. You've kind of talked a little bit about your map, your paradigm of money, because what you talked about was stack cash, live on way below your means. But talk to me more, like, what's the way that you view money? How do you view money now? How do you invest your money? You said that you live on a little bit, so you know, what are you doing with the rest of that money?
I told you I grew up poor, you know, all that good stuff. You know, I watched people that had money and they were making money. They had windows of opportunity where they were making, you know, $50,000 a month, and they were living the lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Right? They were living in the beautiful homes, beautiful houses. And over time, over a 10-year period, I'm like, okay, I've watched these people lose homes and this and that, the other, right? And so I told myself, I'm playing for keeps. Mm-hmm. Like, I really don't give a shit. I don't care if it's the Lancer and somebody thinks whatever of me. The way you think of me doesn't determine whether I'm financially successful or not, or financially secure. Mm-hmm. So at a young age, when I said I'm not going to live like this, I was okay sacrificing 10 years, 12 years, 13 years, living a little bit worse than people, while I'm making way more than people, so that I could play for keeps, right? And so I knew my definition of everybody's definition of financial security is going to be different.
Yep.
Right? My definition was, because I've watched people live in nice homes and then their homes be taken from them.
Did that happen to you? Like, do you have like some like personal fear of like, hey, we had it good, and then all of a sudden
I have I have a massive fear. Mm-hmm. I have a massive fear, and that's what keeps you know, and I think a lot of people that are hungry and that are successful always have a fear that's driving them and pushing them forward. Yeah. You can say that that's not healthy, that's da-da-da-da, whatever. I don't give a shit. There's always a monster that's chasing the successful.
Yeah.
You know, they're when I was in the Arte Syndicate, and me and Kel were paying $6,000 a month each to be a part of the program, even Ed Milet and Andy Frisella, that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars, say they still have fear to this day.
Yeah.
And they said it's okay as long as you don't let it cripple you and you let it push you to a new level where you're actually finding ways to make personal progress versus, like, you know, sitting in fear, right? But my definition of financial security was playing for keeps, being able to own my home outright. If I live or I die, that my family's always taken care of, right? So the first thing I did when I started making money, I was like, hey, I need to get life insurance, right? And so that was first and foremost, get enough to where the house can be paid off and they can have money in the bank. So first off, that brought me a little bit of peace of mind that if I'm not here, that again, they're taken care of. Because I told my kids will never live like this. If I died and they didn't have that, then maybe they would live like this, me,
right?
This poor boy that grew up in a way that knew his surroundings wasn't really the best, right? And I didn't want my kids to feel that way. So that was a big goal of mine, was just to be able to pay a home and buy it cash, right? Real financial security is not really having to worry about things, right? And so some people are like, oh, I want X amount of cash flow per month. I don't care how much debt I'm in. Like whatever. For me, it was like, I'm going to own my home. I'm going to own everything outright. I'm gonna have money in the bank, and then I'm gonna start investing into other businesses, which I've done. So I have businesses cash flowing. I've paid for my home cash. I pay for my car's cash, the camp trade, like everything. I don't do debt. And then I've got Bitcoin. So now that I've invested in other businesses, which I'm gonna be honest with you, it sounds cool that I have 10 investments in other businesses, but they don't pay. You know what I mean? Like, it sounds cool, but it's not really a great idea to go hand $1 million, 200 here, 300 here, 150 here, like to other people. I believe that your best bet is, if you have that type of money, to invest it yourself, because nobody cares about your money like you do. Anyways, so the investments outside of my own businesses, it sounds cool, but it's not really actually financially cool. Now, who knows? There's still some that are growing in evaluation that are making money, but again, I've yet to see them 3-4 years down the road. Again, it's the non-sexy stuff that just doesn't look cool. That's not the big home run. It's just the base hits, like buying a real estate, that has the ability to cash flow a little bit. Like, I have one property that pays me, it's like $1,600 a month, right? And so it's what, $20,000 a year. Right, so that pays out $20,000 a year. Then I've got Bitcoin. Now my goal is to do Airbnb stuff where it's experiential investing, to where it's like, I don't really like traveling, but if I think that it's kind of like my house, maybe I can trick my brain into thinking like, hey, we're just going to your spot, So the next thing that I do is taking my money and buying Airbnbs in places that I would actually like to visit, so that I could just book them out, but my money's actually making me money, and it's creating experiences and memories for my family.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What you're talking about is giving your money to other people, right? Have you ever read the book Richest Man in Babylon?
No.
It talks about, like, that's one of the scrolls, is basically don't give your money to other people to make you money. Like, what they say is there's no such thing as a good investment. There's only good investors.
Yeah.
Like, and if we're just giving our money, like, I hope you make me some money.
Yeah.
It's pretty much just going down the drain.
Yeah.
But you've kind of built your whole life just off of like the 10 miles a day. But it's like, I'm just gonna pay off my car. I'm gonna pay off this. I'm gonna buy this cash. And
consistency.
It's not sexy over 2 years, 3 years, but you look 20 years down the road. It's like, hey, I have all my stuff paid for. I have 10 Airbnb properties. They're all paid for cash. And it's like, sure, you could leverage yourself to death and probably accelerate that, but you're risking a ton.
But for what? For financial security? So what? That I can have a home paid off? Like, I don't like to travel, dude. What else more do I need? I have designed a life that I like. Yeah. I like getting up and running to my, like, there's that old story about the fisherman, like, where he goes out and catches fish for his family, and the guy's like, well, hire somebody else to do it. Then this, and then, then you could start importing, and he goes, for what? So that you could eventually just get to the point where you can go out and go fishing all day. So that you can make enough money to retire to go fishing. So he was already doing that. That was just the way that he was feeding his family.
Right.
Like, he didn't understand that.
Right.
And so some people are just like more. And believe me, dude, like, there's still more in the tank to gain more financially. Mm-hmm. I'm just not in as big of a rush to risk what I currently have in order for more. I'm willing to invest time and energy and effort and put money into things that I believe in, but I'm not going to leverage my children's home just so that I can feed my ego and add another $1 million to my bank account.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't need that. Mm-hmm. The whole point of me making money was to create the security that I've already created. So why would I risk the security that I've already created for more security?
Yep.
In other words, I'm just feeding my ego at that point.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I identified what was important to me, and I honored the plan. Yep. Right? When we were taking $50,000, $100,000 checks, like, hey, what are you going to do with this? And I said, put it in the bank.
How do you avoid the shiny object, like the shiny penny? Like, because there's opportunities that come up and you're like, God, that'd be nice. Is that hard for you, or you're just like, because it's easy to say stick to the plan.
Shiny what? You talking about business opportunities? You talking about cars? You talking about what?
Any of it. It's like something comes up and you're like, God, I would love.
I did that. I did. Not the cars though. Yeah. I did the shiny, like, hey bro, put in $200,000 here, dude. This thing is gonna cash flow you $6,000 a month. This thing's freaking beautiful. I'm like, okay, so that's 70 a year. So you're telling me in 3 years, blah, blah, blah. Like I bid on the shiny, sexy things too, right? Like, am I disciplined? Am I consistent? Yes. Am I also an idiot and fall for things too? Yeah. Like I want my money just to sit there and double and double and double and double and make me money just like anybody else, bro. Right. You have somebody that has nice cars, nice houses, the jets, the planes that say, hey, give me your money. And you're like, dude, this guy's a Midas touch. Of course I'm going to give him my money. You know what I mean? And then it's this excuse, it's that excuse that this don't work or that, or hey, oh, this is cost of goods are up and da-da-da-da. And it's all a bunch of bullshit, right? And so it's just like, so I did go down that route. For me, the cars and all that stuff, I promised myself that I would never buy myself like an expensive sports car until my mother was retired and that she was well taken care of. And so that's I don't need it, dude.
Yeah.
I don't need it. I like my truck. It's got 90,000 miles on it. It's 6-7 years. Guess what? My wife drives a 9-year-old van. She got rid of the brand new, nice Yukon. And she's like, dude, I don't even want this. I'm like, nah, let's keep it. Let's get you a van too. We'll take this one on family trips. And she's like, dude, I'm a soccer mom. I hate the fact that I get upset at yelling at the kids because they spilled something in the back of this $100,000 car.
Yeah.
I'm like, always have anxiety about, hey, don't do that, Dude, let's buy a shitty van and have them beat the hell out of it and not even worry about it. Let's just live where we're at right now in life, right? We have young kids. Like, the knowledge that I have isn't going to change if I pulled up in a $200,000 car.
Right.
I value other things outside of what you think of me. And if the only feeling that I get is from something outside of me, like a car that gives me an excitement, that's a concern for me.
Yep.
Right? Like I want to control the way that I feel through my actions and my habits, not things. Those are two different things.
Yeah, I think a big thing what I'm hearing is like being really centered and grounded in who you are.
I've grounded myself.
Is that what you're not?
As an adult. I don't ground my kids, but I grounded me. So, yeah.
You have a question for him?
Your beard looks immaculate.
I just got it done before we came here. Yeah. Thanks for noticing.
Who does it?
Oh, plug for Cheyenne over at
she needs
Birchcraft.
Yeah, there you go.
Right down the street.
Right down the road.
Next to the Big O.
I figured if it looks that good.
Next to O'Reilly's.
Like, they should put a signature or something like a painting, like right on it, so people know.
Just a little signature. So
that person, it's a gal, Cheyenne.
Oh yeah.
She deserves a shout out, no doubt. That's a good looking beard right there.
I need to get mine. She does mine too. I need to get mine refreshed so I get the Trevor compliment.
Yeah.
So like, if you were to go tell your kids your son's about to go start his entrepreneurial journey, what are
Don't do it.
Run.
Go to college.
It's not worth it.
What would you tell him? Like, what were like some of the things you'd be like, okay, these are the big things you need to make sure you avoid. These are the things you need to double down on. What would be the lessons that you'd be like, okay, son, this is what's important.
Yeah. One, you don't have to do everything yourself. Don't let your ego get in the way of you delegating. And even when you delegate, it's okay to deal with a little bit of pain through that delegation. Don't just go pick up the task.
Yeah.
Just because they messed up and it's causing you a little pain and hurt and you say, well, I could have done it better myself. Just give me that task back.
Yep.
Right. And so when you're phasing yourself out of business, you will go through some painful times. And that's just part of the process. Whoever you delegated to has to learn just like you did. Right. And so try to delegate as quickly as you possibly can for your own mental health. Yeah. Because you're not going to be able to juggle, 13 different things for an extended period of time. Secondly, don't ever start living high on the hog that forces you to rape the business of its profits in order to fuel a lifestyle. And third, make sure that you're doing everything that you possibly can to feel good in your body and mind. Because if you don't feel good in your body and mind, that's when we start spending, looking for dopamine to feel good about ourselves. And so I think health is truly the first wealth. I do believe that. and I believe that I show that through my actions every single day.
Yeah.
And so I would say, just, take care of yourself, surround yourself with the right people, be willing to delegate quickly, and don't live too high on the hog that forces you to, when times get tough in business, to decide whether or not you keep fueling your lifestyle or you keep your business open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love those.
Yeah.
I love that. It kind of ties back into everything you just talked about the past hour. I love it. So, I want to say thank you, dude, for hopping on, coming here, spending your time.
It was fun.
I didn't know you owned a pair of jeans, so that's cool to know. I thought it was just, short shorts.
My short shorts are out in the truck. So, Ty being behind the camera, I thought maybe he would put like a lower camera, so I didn't want to show my knees. And,
that's only on the exclusive content.
Yeah, that's
go find him at realbusiness. That's onlyfans.com/realbusinessowners.
Yeah. Keep the eyes off the thighs, Ty. Anyways, no, I don't wear jeans too much, so you're welcome. I dressed up for you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm honored.
Yeah.
Jason's got his beard done. You got the jeans on. So
we're doing good.
Yeah.
So,
you got the nice watch on.
Got the nice watch on.
So I got jeans. You got the beard. You got the watch.
And Ty has his painted on shirt.
Yeah. Ty, we need to give him a raise so he can buy a new shirt.
We haven't even paid him yet, so
yeah.
Wait, if we paid him.
Pay him in shirts, not extra small ones though. He already got plenty of them.
The shirt's brand new. Last time.
I hope you haven't put it in the wash yet. Holy shit. Yeah. Anyways.
But thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thank you for hopping on.
It's fun.
People can find you on Instagram, Real Business Owners.
Yeah.
Where else can people find you?
Trevor Cowley on Facebook, Trevor Lee Cowley on Instagram, Real Business Owners. I'm there in the DMs. So hit me up if you need anything.
Love it.
Yep.
Sweet. Thanks, man.
Yeah, it's good.
Thanks, guys. If you guys found value out of this, please share it with a friend. Go post it on your Facebook, Instagram. Hell, go buy a billboard and post this thing on there too. So appreciate you guys tuning in. Be positive and confident in all that you do. Most importantly, go be abundant. Peace and love. Bye-bye.